My name is Ryan Woods, and I have the honor of serving as the Park Commissioner for the City of Boston. Oh, thanks. I don't usually get that. Thank you very much. We're very excited to show off the work we've done, and it's because of Christine's work that we're here today. This project really was a community effort, and we have great park advocates with us. I want to thank friends and family members of Christine Cooper who joined us today. Thank you very much to them and their family. We're also joined by another dear friend of the Parks Department, Mr. Olmsted himself, although he's not in his Olmsted gear today, Jerry Wright. Thank you for all your work that you've done here. We have Karen Money-Brodak, president of ENC, and a team over here from Emerald Necklace Conservancy that'll be here, so thank you to the ENC for the work that they do. Stop by, they have maps and some future programming. There'll also be the future residents are working outside of the Curly House, so you'll see a lot more programming. So Emerald Necklace Conservancy will have a home just across the street from the pond. That's great. With this investment, we're now able to enjoy major accessibility upgrades throughout the park. Newly paved pathways for walkers, runners, bikers, increased seating, workout stations, improved irrigation throughout the park, and a lot of new trees. Make sure to stick around after the speaking program. We have a couple guided tours that will be led by our team that worked on the project that can show you all the intricacies and everything they worked on throughout the project. So this project wouldn't be possible without our project management team, led in-house by Lauren Bryant. So I want to give a hand to Lauren Bryant. Today is also her birthday. We're saying it's her 35th birthday again, so happy birthday, Lauren, once again. To our consultant, Kyle Zick, Landscape Architecture. Kyle's with us today. Thank you for the design work on this. And also to LaRusso and Tasco, who helped do all the paving work, the construction workers that worked on this project. So thank you for all your efforts. I want to point out as well, he's not in the speaking program, but he was behind this project from the beginning, our past park commissioner and our chief of energy, environment, and open space for the city of Boston. Chris Cook is here with us. Chris, thank you for all your work on this project and many other projects. So this $4.7 million investment was made possible because of Mayor Walsh's advocacy. He challenges us each day in the Parks Department to make our parks better. He wanted to ensure that all residents are within a 10-minute walk from their front door to the nearest park. He really is our parks champion, and please give a warm welcome to the Mayor of the City of Boston, Martin J. Walsh.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And I'll get back to you in a minute, Brian, in the Parks Department. Let me just thank the elected officials that are here. City Councilor Nisa Wasabi George is here. Thank you, Councilor George. What's up, Jeffrey? City Councilor Matt O'Malley, who's here. I'm going to talk about Matt O'Malley. Clerk Mara Hennigan is here. Thank you, Clerk. Representative Nika Elguado is here. Thank you, Representative. Representative Liz Malia is here. Thank you, Representative. Former Representative Jeffrey Sanchez is here. Thank you, Representative. A lot of representatives. I don't know if any of these little guys representatives. Thank you for being here with us today. All right. Nice hat, Last Call Foundation. Thank you. To Ryan and the Parks Department. They do an amazing job in our city. Thank you to all the Parks Department staff that's here with us today. Without all of you guys and ladies, what you do, it wouldn't happen. So thank you for your work. I also want to thank Christine Cooper. She's the reason why, one of the reasons why we're here today. Thank you for your great work. Jamaica Pond was very special to her. A tireless advocate, and this is exciting and making this dream a reality here in the pond. Christine helped the sailing program at this boathouse, and we're proud to dedicate the boathouse in her honor today. The plaque says, "Let's nature be your classroom." This is something that Christine believed in. What makes Boston so special are people who do extraordinary things. When you think about what we're doing here today in this neighborhood, Christine embodies that, what she did for this community. That's what makes our neighborhoods in the city so special. We take it for granted sometimes. I don't think the neighborhoods take it for granted, but I think as a city, we somewhat take it for granted. We live in the greatest city in the world. Yeah, we have challenges and there's problems, complaints, and all that stuff, and we can deal with that a little later today if we want. But it is about people giving back. This investment here at Jamaica Pond is important. I was saying to a young couple a minute ago, we were talking about the investment here, and what we used to do in the Parks Department over decades is we would do projects, but we'd do some of it now and then some of it later and some of it later and some of it later and some of it later. And the two projects that I'm going to kind of compare it to is this pathway here and Franklin Park. And we'd be sitting, my first budget season, I sat with Chris Cook and we sat down and we talked about, we're going to put $150,000 into extending, 25 feet of Jamaica Pond, and we're going to do $125,000 over in Franklin Park and do another 25 feet of Franklin Park. And in this particular project, Matt O'Malley came to me. And he said, so many people use the walkway, the running, kids, dogs, people, everybody. Do you think we could do something a little quicker? And I called Chris Cook and I said to Chris, what do you think? Do you want to get it done quicker? Chris says, absolutely want to do it quicker. And we went to then, I think it was maybe Justin. I think it was Justin was the budget director who's here today. And I said, we need to make a bigger investment. And I said, what's going to cost to finish do this project right? And he went back to Chris Cook and Ryan and came back and it was $4.7 million. He said, let's do $4.7 million to make this done right. And that's what we have to do more of here in the city, is by making it happen. And also I was talking to the same young couple. They were telling me that there's an app, I think there's an app you said, and I can't see it right now. There's an app that you can focus in on where the most run locations are in the United States. And if you look in Boston, you'll see a bunch of dots, and you'll focus in on. And Jamaica Pond is one of those places that the most runners use in the country. So, to the runners, congratulations. I know we have walkers here too. A young woman told me she's been walking this pond for 40 years, and it's finally done. So, congratulations. So, just so everyone understands, our work in Jamaica Pond is part of a major citywide improvement process that we're doing. We've invested more than $100 million in our parks in the city of Boston. There's another $180 million. So we've built $100 million of parks in the last since 2014. We have another $180 million in the process right now that we're building out. We're investing $66 million in the Emerald Necklace. We want to recognize the role that parks play in the quality of life, public health, and community resilience. We're making these investments to make sure that let people know that they're equitable investments and important investments. We're creating resilient parks to protect our most vulnerable communities. So we're using these parks not just as open space, but we're also using it as effects of climate change. And how do we combat that, and how do we fight that, and how do we get ahead of that? Last year we became the second city, but the first on the East Coast in America where every single resident lives within a 10-minute walk of a park. We were about 6 weeks shy of being #1, but we got there. Seattle could beat us, but that's all right. We're the first on the East Coast. Seniors in East Boston and families in JP, families in Dorchester and kids in Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, everywhere have access to a park. And we're going to continue to make the investments that are important to move forward. We also are listening to the needs and responding to the community. JP Soccer, I'm sure there's some JP Soccer youth here, told us that their field at the field is worn out and unsafe. So we're going to replace it. We're going to make sure they have a new place. Our kids in Boston deserve to play on a field just like the kids in the suburbs do. And a field that's first class, best class, that kids can enjoy and have fun. By the springtime, that field should be ready. We're making transformative investments that reflect our progressive values. You can see it right here at Jamaica Pond. You can see it all across our city. We have $1 billion investment to start in modernizing and building our new schools and public schools. 2/3 of our schools in Boston were built before World War II. 2/3 of our schools in Boston were built before World War II. Our kids, we've waited too long in this city to upgrade our school system. And we're doing it now, making the investments, not just on the physical plant, but we're making the investments on the inside of the schools. We're offering free community college for our high school graduates. We're doing that. Other cities are copying us. LA, Chicago, New York, they're all following our lead. We have universal pre-kindergarten that we're bringing to the city of Boston. We were trying to get some funding through the legislature. It didn't happen, so we just funded ourselves. We're going to have universal pre-K, that every 4-year-old has access to high-quality pre-kindergarten in our school. We're closing the gender wage gap through our Office of Women's Advancement by training 85,000 women in something called salary negotiation workshops, where we're bringing women in and training women how to negotiate a salary. Because oftentimes when the job is offered to a man, they sit back and say, okay, we want the job, but we want to make $20,000 more, and we want a different title. And oftentimes the man will get that. Historically, women have said thank you for the job and walked out. Now we're working to make sure women fight so we can continue to get pay equity in the workplace. We just approved the other day, and we're going to be building the first LGBT senior-friendly housing development in Boston's history in Hyde Park. We want to make sure that everyone has a place to call home. We've got nearly 2,000 people off the streets into safe housing, in homeless, chronically homeless people that are living. On the day I got sworn in as mayor in January 2014, 2,000 people that were on the streets of Boston living there, chronically homeless, are now living in an apartment or a home. We're working on getting more of them there. There's a lot going on. You get the point. It's freezing. So I'm going to end with this. We're building a legacy to make sure that we continue to move our city forward. Boston Common was the first public park in America. The Emerald Necklace was a groundbreaking idea. It was a huge leap forward in planning that role that parks play in an urban environment. We're going to continue to do that. There's a woman here that I want to give a shout out to. Her name is Julia O'Brien. She used to, I know she's consulting now, but she worked for the DCR. When I became a state representative in 1997, Julia came into my office. I was a brand new state representative, and she was talking about this idea of connecting the Neponset Greenway. And she was talking about, we're going to build a series of parks. They're going to connect South Boston to Milton to Canton, all over the country, all over the world. We're going to do it. And I said, that's great, Julia, but we'll see. It's going to take some time. And I started to listen to what she had to say. And slowly but surely, we got money for Pope John Paul Park in Dorchester. We got money for the extension. We got money for Mattapan. We got money for the trails. Julia, your reality, what you taught me in that office that day has come true. I walk those parks. I see those areas. I see some of the areas we took as industrial buildings, shape a paper site, and we knocked it down. Now there's beautiful green space there. I want to thank you. She's over here somewhere. I want to thank you for helping me understand the importance of open space when I was a young state representative and really wasn't necessarily focused on this. You've helped create the idea of what we're doing in the city of Boston in investing in our open space and our green space. Because regardless of your ability, whether you're a young kid that plays football or soccer or whatever it is, or you're an older Bostonian that just wants to walk around and reflect and enjoy yourself, that's what this is all about. Thank you, everyone, for being here today.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I also want to mention that Councilor Flaherty joined us. So, Councilor, thank you very much for being here as well. Another person that really got us over the finish line, a real advocate for District 6, so much so that he has it tattooed on his arm. JP's own, please welcome City Councilor Matt O'Malley.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chief. And thank you, Mayor Marty Walsh. Marty Walsh is the parks mayor in the history of Boston. He has done more to invest more. He's talked the talk. He's walked the walk. And Marty, this is just another example of your commitment to our open space and our parks. Thank you all for being here. This is one of the most exciting days I have had in my nearly 10 years of being your representative at City Hall. And people have been very kind in saying I played a very small role in getting us here today, but I want to tell you who was the driving force of getting this investment made. It's the guy from Bonnie who fishes over in the South Bluff every June. It was the two women, the two mothers who pushed their first child across the 1.5-mile loop 3 times a week. It was the park run who bring more of our friends from across the pond here every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. and join them. I guarantee you will be faster than me running with them. It was the kids from South Street who come over every day and get a great tutorial from Frederick Law Olmsted himself to learn about marine life and pond life and outdoors. It was the community of Jamaica Plain, and more than anything else, this is JP's Town Square. And you come at any time of year, nice weather, the winter, you're going to see you're going to walk around the pond and you're going to see people who look like the vibrancy and the diversity of the neighborhood and the city that we love. This is a special place, and by God, we are so lucky that it's in our backyard. And this $5 million commitment from the City of Boston shows that we're going to not only protect this for generations to come, and it has been more than a generation since the last major investment in this pond. It was about, I think, Carol Matheson and John were saying it was about 1986, 1987, so we're talking 30-plus years ago. And it's an amazing thing that we're celebrating here today. I love being your voice at City Hall, and I am incredibly lucky to get to work on projects like this that's going to benefit all of us and benefit visitors, residents, and generations to come. So thank you very much to the Parks Department. Before I close, I just wanted to note, I didn't know Christine Cooper, but I feel as though I know her when I've heard some of the remarkable stories, and I feel like I know her because I've gotten to know Jerry Wright. And I've gotten to know Sarah Freeman and her partner, the late great Sam Sherwood, and so many parks advocates who are here every day, nearly every day of their lives, making sure that we can protect this and enhance this. And when the times were tight and tough, and when there wasn't the financial support or the financial ability to come from the city, you all made this and protected this place, and we all owe an incredible debt of gratitude. Jerry, Sarah, Christine, Sam, so many great advocates. Thank you very much. Here's to a great day.
Thank you very much, Councilor. And more to touch on the legacy and all the great work that Christine did at Jamaica Pond is a dear friend of hers. Please welcome Jerry Wright.
Thank you, everybody. I will start by thanking each and every one of us in our hearts and our minds, because we are all equal when we walk around the pond. And there is no greater testament to our democracy than we are all equal. Therefore, Mr. Mayor and Chief Cook and Commissioner Ryan and Matt O'Malley, these are our people who speak for us where it counts, where we can get the money. And I agree with everything that they have said today. This is a centering place. This is where you come and nature is before us, around us, surrounds us in the sky and on the hill which we protected for these last 30 years. But let me begin with Christine Cooper and end with Christine Cooper. She was born there down in the Bromley Heath development, I like to call it, because she developed things from going there. Her father, at the age of 2, began bringing her up to the pond. Christine would say sometimes he'd carry me, and then we'd walk together around the pond. And those early years, I think the pond, in all its natural beauty, sank in within her soul. And there was another dimension, and that was dealing with humanity. If you ever dealt with Christine, you know you were going to get a direct answer. It would be her truth, and you'd have to confess, yes, you're right, Christine. But it all started when I met her in the 70s. And I met her here for a few minutes, and there was something that gripped me. She was with her small daughter, Angela. And the next week, we walked again. And then she dropped off some poetry. And I began to think, wait a minute, what is it about this woman that's so grasping and so gripping? And so then when we walked, we said, we better start picking this place up. It was glass, and there was trash all over. So we started, and then she says, I have some friends. Well, the story could be told to take a long time, but at the essence of the story was this critical moment. I saw the head of the Boys and Girls Club here, and I went up there and said, what are you doing here? Well, we're going to run the boathouse. I said, but you're from Charlestown. And then I said, wait a minute, I want to meet with the mayor, or not the mayor at that point, it was straight to the commissioner. We got to the mayor eventually. But when I went in and the mayor said, the commissioner said, listen, they're organized. They've got a big organization. And I said, but you don't know the spirit of this woman, Christine Cooper. Give her a chance. Well, he pounded the table and he said, "I'll drown you in the pond, Jerry, if you fail." Well, Christine came out, and all of a sudden, things were happening. She had some friends who were plumbers. The commissioner said, "Oh, you'll never fix those things. They'll never work in the park." By God, they were fixed. Christine cleaned up the bottom part of the pond, and soon people were stopping by for hot chocolate. And it grew and it grew, and then she said, "Let's start a rowboat program. Let's start a sailing program." And soon there were kids coming here to be educated about the world of nature and how to get along with each other. And this spirit, for me, this is the greatest day of my life. Quite frankly, my family is here, and yes, there is my family, but Christine Cooper is a mother to all of us as we are around this park, because it was her spirit from Bromley Heath coming here to this glorious place that people from all over our community joined, where we were all equal. And that is the spirit of this country. And now, with a great poet, she was a sailor, and the great poet there, he was around and he saved his life by working in the hospitals to take care of the wounded. But his poetry remains. And these words, "We too take ship, O soul. We too launch out in trackless seas, caroling free and singing our song of praise and chanting our chant of pleasant expiration. Steer for the deep waters only, I with thee and thou with me, for we are headed where the mariner has not yet dared to go, and we will risk the ship, ourselves, and all." In the spirit of Christine, and with my heart and mind flowing with Angela, her daughter, we thank all of each one of us, and especially our elected officials who've made this possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. We will do an official ribbon cutting for the pathways, but at this time I'd ask if Angela, Christine's grandchildren, may join the mayor just to unveil. I'll show the plaque is up on the door right here for everyone to enjoy, but there's a larger version of it right here on the easel.
3, 2, 1. Flip it off.
This boathouse is officially dedicated to Christine Cooper.
On three. 1, 2, 3.
The pathways at Jamaica Pond are officially open.